So my husband eventually became a computer programmer, and he was one for many years. Always had trouble keeping jobs. And if he had one, he never got promoted. He was kind of stuck at entry level. Eventually, he was laid off by one job. We moved, never got promoted, never got real raises, so we had to move. And then he got laid off, so he took another job that was remote, and he got fired. And I don't know why he got fired. He didn't want to apply for unemployment, said he wouldn't get it. I'm like, dude, we're paying $1,500. No, this is 2012. We're paying $1,500 a month in rent. I'm working as a CNA. I'm making $12 an hour. I can't support us. You've got to at least get the unemployment. So he did get it. He was shocked. He's like, I got it. Okay, cool. But we need to do something. My sister, I was on speaking terms with my family. They decided I was worth speaking to. So she got me a job up in Oklahoma in an area where the cost of living wasn't nearly as high as Plano, Texas. So I took it and I moved up there. And Neil stayed down there temporarily with the kids on the unemployment. So we had unemployment that he was getting in Plano, Texas, and it wasn't enough to pay the bills down there. And then I was working, and even with what I was making, it wasn't enough to pay that household and a household I might want to start up here. So I told him, you need to come up here and you get a job until we can figure out what to do, because he couldn't get another job. It was really weird. He'd been commuting for many years, granted, from job to job to job, but in the same industry, but he couldn't find another one. He wanted me to continue working up here in Oklahoma and send him money down there. Also, he wanted to send our two younger kids, who were in grade school at the time, going into junior high, and the two older kids he would keep down there in Plano. They wanted to get an apartment. And my oldest daughter, who was an adult at that time, and is now, but at that time was already an adult, who was getting disability, he was going to try and find another job, and until then, stay on unemployment, use my daughter's disability, and my older son, who was a senior in high school, was going to get a part-time job, and they were going to stay down in Plano, and I was going to also send them money, but somehow continue working, get a place, and bring the two younger kids up here. And I'm like, I can't start a household, bring the other two kids up, support them, and then send whatever money I've got left down there to you. I'm not doing that. That's insane. So you either need to move up here, all of you, and we try and make a go of it, or you need to keep the kids down there, because I can't support two households. Plus, I found a nursing program up here. I was like stoked, like it was going to be paid for by FOSTA. I could go to school for free, and I was telling, hey man, if you come up here and take my job, you would be able to support us based on what the rents were at the time. You could work full time where I'm at, because my sister said she'd get you a job. You could work here, support us while I go to nursing school, then I'll be a nurse and I'll work, and then you can go out and find something else you want to do. Maybe you can go back to school. He wasn't going to do it. I'm like, okay, then you need to keep all the kids, because I can't support two households. If I got to send money to you, then you need to keep the kids, and I'll live with my dad. My dad kind of went through a weird process that he changed. He was going to let me live rent free with him while I went to school for a year. So my dad was going to let me live with him. I could go to school, work part-time, send money to Neil, and whatever. Well, Neil went ahead and came up with the kids. And he was awful. And this is where the physical abuse again. By this point, I had lost a lot of weight. I'm about 5'9", and I'd gotten down to 140, which 140 may not sound like a lot, but for 5'9", that's very thin. And I was working the job my sister got me a lot of hours. So I'd work, and I'd come home, the house would be a mess, I'd have to cook. Or he'd cook and leave a mess. And he wasn't working. He wasn't working. So I was doing the housework, and I'm working, and I was doing work in, it was, they were building pipes and stuff like that for refineries. And my job was, I was shipping and receiving, plus it was very hard. I was lifting flanges that were big, like It was physically demanding. So I was working a lot of hours doing physical stuff, skinny as hell. That's why I dropped so much weight. And coming home to, I'd either have to cook or the house would be a mess. And because he did cook, and I'd have to clean if I wanted to clean home. And he's not working. Like, what are you doing all day? He was playing the game that I mentioned earlier. And I admittedly was becoming hostile. So the other thing that narcissists do is they draw you into reactive abuse. When no one's within hearing shot, they say or do things that make you mad, and you, after a while of it, blow up, and then everybody else only sees you blowing up, and they think, well, she's abusive, she's crazy. And all my children saw was mom coming home and screaming at dad, who's sad, he lost his job, which we don't know why he lost his job, but he couldn't get another job in that industry. And so I was admittedly not a nice person at that time. I'm working my ass off, coming home to a mess and being ignored in the process. So it wasn't just that he wasn't cooking or that he wasn't cleaning up after he cooked and I was having to do everything else on top of cooking, working full time. It was also, he was kind of being rude and mean and cold and distant. I'm working a job I hate. I didn't want to be in shipping, receiving, sending out pipes and stuff. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to be a nurse. And every time I got serious about being a nurse, I had to work. So I was unhappy. And because I was unhappy, and I'd come home and I would be very firm, very aggressive, and sometimes, depending on how he acted when I would get that way, he would scream. And there were a few occasions, and it was always when the kids were in bed or at school, he got physical. And at one time, I remember I'm like, you never do anything. What are you doing? Why not? He grabs me and slams me to the ground. Now, he used to wrestle in high school. He's kind of athletic dude, at least in high school. And he knows his wrestling moves. I don't know if he cracked my ribs. He at least bruised them. Couldn't breathe. My dad had just died. What had happened was my dad went to a Chinese restaurant with my mom and dropped dead. And my sister and I got there in time to watch them resuscitating him or trying to resuscitate him. It was pretty traumatic. Neil knew this happened. So here we are. We move up here to a place I don't want to live. I don't want to live here. And nobody does in the family. Kids are mad at me. They blame me. And I'm not the one that lost the job. Like, they're mad at me, but it's their dad that lost his job. And career. And my dad has just died. I watched them trying to resuscitate him. And I'm working my ass off, coming home to a messy house with no love or support. And I'm getting physically abused. And so I left. A couple days after he slammed me on the ground and broke my ribs, I left. And that's what set the stage for me finally becoming a nurse.